In a previous video or a previous section, we spoke about social engineering and how to compromise the system, but based on people error. So I was able to get full access to a system or to capture their credential, but this was based on their error. So I was hoping that they click on the link I sent or open an attachment that I sent, and accordingly I can get access to the machine. It's very effective, except still we are depending on something or on someone. What if this someone is very careful? He never click on a link, he never open a suspicious attachment, so I will not be able to access his computer. Now what we'll be focusing about on this section is how to identify weakness inside the system and use such weakness to compromise the system. So for instance, my victim has Windows XP or Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows Server. I can check for what weakness does this operating system have and try to gain access to the system or compromise the system according to those weaknesses. And by doing that, I'm not depending on anyone, because I'm not just looking for weakness inside the platform or operating system. I'm going to check what software do he have, what port he got open, what service he got, and I start looking for weakness in those services. This maybe seem complicated, but actually is not complicated at all. It's very, very easy. So during this section, I'm going to show you how we used to do that first, which was kind of hard, looking for a vulnerability and looking for its exploit, and try to exploit this vulnerability. And usually we get this exploit written by a different language like C or Perl or Python, and I have to do some modification, and it was hard. If you don't have any kind of development background, it will not be that easy. But some framework has been introduced and made that very easy for anyone. So we don't have any prerequisites. You can just use these tools and you can search for vulnerability, choose what vulnerability and exploit the system. But the main point on this section is that we do not depend on the victim. I will exploit and compromise the system, and I don't depend on any user or any kind of mistake. So it doesn't matter how careful he is, I'm going to compromise the system anywhere. Now let me just identify two definitions here. What is a vulnerability and what is an exploit? A vulnerability is a weakness, while an exploit is a program that you can use to hack the system through this weakness. So you may have a vulnerability that doesn't have an exploit. So you can have an open port, but no services on this open port. So I cannot hack to this. So it's still a vulnerability, but it doesn't have an exploit. So on the next video, we're going to start the hard way first, and then after that, we're going to show you the easy way, which actually is quite easy. And I'm going to find you I'm going to explain to you different techniques that can be used to compromise the system according to their weakness. So let's start and see.